Hello, everyone. GM. Welcome back to another episode of Overpriced JPEGs. It is time for your Friday recap and another moment of Zeneca with the one and only Zeneca. How you doing, man? Back from Marfa. We're going to talk about Marfa in this episode, but how you doing in general?
I'm doing well. I'm high on Marfa.
On Marfa?
Last week. We'll definitely get into all of that, but I'm doing pretty well. I'm doing well.
Everyone who was there seemed to just be like it was the best. It was the best of all the conferences. I'm so sad I wasn't there, and also I had just gotten married, and I've been, I just kind of needed to lay low and not deal with the travel costs. Well, before we dive into all the good stuff, Marfa, and of course the big Pudgy news is going to be the story of the day. A couple announcements. Folks know I'm a broken record. OPJ NFT holders, you can go to the website in the link below, like in the show notes, to redeem for your bottle of gin. But the bigger, newer announcement, which I have made, but I'm just reminding folks, is that our final Overpriced Happy Hour event for 2023 is happening right here in my hometown of New York City. And the guest is Raul Pal, which I am so stoked about. I love talking to Raul, and he's going to be live with us in New York on October 11th. If you are an OPJ NFT holder, if you are a Real Vision NFT holder, go to opjtour.com now. There's like a bunch of Real Vision NFTs, any of them qualify. You can go to opjtour.com now and reserve your tickets. Come meet us in person. Beam Suntory is providing the cocktails. Web3 Sense and OpenSea are our sponsors for it, as always. So grateful to them. But it's going to be a fun time in the Seaport. Cool venue. So come hang out, opjtour.com. And that'll round out our event series for the year. We will officially have made good on all of the OPJ NFT promises once we have this event done.
Completed your roadmap.
So we will have completed the roadmap, and who knows from here. So anyway, those are the announcements. And now we do need to hear from our amazing sponsors who make this show and our events possible. Y'all know the phrase, not your keys, not your crypto. Well, in a world where too many people have had to learn that the hard way, Overpriced JPEGs is proud to partner with Ledger, the world leader in critical digital asset security. Ledger's Nano S Plus and Nano X hardware wallets, paired with the Ledger Live app, Ledger's own software for setting up your Nano device and managing your crypto assets, is the easiest way to start your crypto journey while maintaining full control of your digital assets. You can use all your favorite dApps with Ledger Live, accessing 15 plus Web3 apps, including 1inch, Paraswap, Lido, and Zerion. So you can not only manage, but also grow your portfolio. And Ledger Live is available on mobile and desktop. Securing digital assets shouldn't be complicated. Ledger is as easy as it gets. Uncompromising security, effortless connectivity, full transparency, Ledger is your one-stop shop to trade and track crypto, grow your assets, and manage NFTs. Secure your future with Ledger. Visit shop.ledger.com today or check out the link in the show notes. I am so excited to announce that this year, Overpriced JPEGs has partnered with OpenSea, the world's leading NFT marketplace, built for everyone, creators, collectors, noobs, and experts alike. I'm an OpenSea user because they have the best selection of NFTs and a truly inclusive view of the ecosystem, supporting 8 chains and 8 global languages. I trust the systems they've put in place to keep the space safe, like copy mint protection, malicious URL detection and removal, robust verification, and more. It's why they are the place to buy, sell, and create NFTs. That's right. You know OpenSea, you use OpenSea, but did you know that OpenSea now has drops? New exclusive projects launch every week from top projects and creators, and you can check them out now using the link in the show notes. They also recently introduced self-serve drops, which is in beta, and allows creators to launch their projects right on OpenSea. This drops product gives creators access to tools like rich storytelling drop pages, multi-chain support, and drop mechanic customization. The full launch for self-serve drops is coming this spring. So check out the upcoming drops on OpenSea right now using the link in the show notes and own what moves you. You'll also be supporting the show in the process. All right, we're back. Zeneca, vibes check? I don't even know what to make of vibes. It's like, anyways, vibes check and really Marfa check. Like, tell me all about Marfa. Yeah. I want to talk about Die with the most likes. Is that what it's called? Yeah, and the Beef Brothkos art. But yeah, give me your insights into Marfa in general.
There's a lot to break down. Vibes wise, I think vibes are amazing, but it's kind of like you're in your own little bubbles and echo chambers, and having spent the last week in Marfa or the last few days, and just coming out of that, there's so much positive energy around art and artists and collecting and NFTs in this whole space. So my perspective, vibes are high, and the Pudgy news and Bitcoin is kind of pumping a little bit. Seems good.
How many people were at Marfa?
I think there are around 600 to 700, which is insane. So Marfa is a town. The population is around 1,500 to 1,700, I think. It is in the middle of nowhere, in the middle of Texas. It's 3 hours from the nearest airport. 3 hours from the nearest doctor. So people who live there have to drive 3 hours to go visit a doctor. It's crazy.
It's a little scary.
It has a little scary as well. Yeah, if it's a real emergency, they got to get a helicopter in and save you that way. So that's where it was. And so to get 700 people from all around the world, like people came from, I thought, I was traveling from Australia and Dubai. I was like, this is, a long trip. A lot of people like coming from Korea, from Japan, from other people from Australia. It was insane. And even just, if you're in America, generally it's like 2 or 3 flights to get into El Paso or Midlands, plus a 3-hour drive just to get to Marfa. Amazing. So 700 people, let's say, made it there.
Do you know, has Snowfro said why he chose Marfa as the destination for all this?
I can vaguely remember from 2021. So they bought so Marfa is an interesting town in and of itself. So it basically in the 80s started to become known as like an artsy town, this art mecca. There was this artist, Donald Judd, who started what's called the Chianti Foundation, which is just like a foundation to support artists and arts in Marfa. I can't remember, I don't know the exact backstory. Maybe they fell in love with the town and just wanted to do it there. But ever since then, it's become like a place where, they have like artists in residence in some of the places. Artists will come and create a gallery and installation. Like there's entire buildings that are art installations. It's just this magical place. And
cool.
So Snowfro is from Texas, and I think is obviously an artist as well, and knew about Marfa and visited there and knows people from there, and so just decided, you know what, we're gonna buy a piece of property and make the Art Blocks house and gallery in Marfa. And I know that it was by design to make it so that if people wanted to come, it had to be like, I think pilgrimage is the word that he used in a Discord announcement 2 years ago, which it really does feel like that. So many people said we're making a pilgrimage to Marfa, and it was magical.
I know you were saying you're like, part of it too is like to keep the uncommitted out. Like only the committed will go. And I was like, it's me. I'm the one that's being kept out. I'm not committed enough, which is not true. I really genuinely, had I not like just had the whole wedding, like, circumstances were different, I would have loved to have made it. I want to go so badly at one point. Well, and when the dates were first announced, I went online and tried to book a hotel immediately, and everything was booked except for like the most expensive hotel that was like really a lot per night. And I was like, well, I can't do this. And then I didn't realize that they kind of like drip out rooms, because it was like a year in advance. Like they'll actually release more rooms as you get closer. And then I know like you do the Airbnb thing, which is definitely the smart way to go for it. And in the future, is what I would do.
They just don't have that many hotel rooms, like maybe 3 hotel type things.
Well, you're right. It's like 1,500 people. It's like there's nobody here.
It's a tiny town. So a lot of people camp. A lot of people get Airbnbs.
This sounds like Burning Man. I'm not going to lie to you. I'm getting funny you say that. Strong Burning Man vibes, which is not my scene.
So it's not quite, it's definitely a town. You get great coffee, great restaurants. It's got all of that kind of
running
stuff
water.
as well. There's definitely running water. But people were saying, hey, what happens if, they do it, and the hope and the dream is that it keeps happening in Marfa every year, but what if next year 1,000 people and the year after 1,500 people want to come? The town literally cannot support that many people, and so people said, oh, we'll just turn it into a bit of a burn and start building our own structures on the outskirts of town. And
no thank you.
I think that would be amazing. You can still go, you can go stay in the 5-star hotel downtown and have others on the, there you go.
All right. Would you go to Burning Man?
Yes, I would.
You would go to Burning Man?
I would love to. It sounds amazing.
Are you kidding me? It sounds hellish. Quite literally hellish. I cannot imagine anything worse than like having to trek in all the food and water you think you're going to need, and then fucking camping. And then it's a bunch of like tech bros who think they found enlightenment. Well, I'm not trying to tread on your dream, Zeneca. I'm just saying it sounds horrible.
It sounds... Okay, so I don't know everything about Burning Man, and if it's not Burning Man, like a local burn, which is because people do these in places all around the world that aren't tech bros coming to necessarily. Mm-hmm. I don't know. I think it's going to be less tech bro-y than you think it is.
Well, Marfa or
no,
Burning Man?
Burning Man. A Burning Man. Yeah. Surely, I know a lot of tech bros go there, but I think...
I'm also just not even like a music festival person. Like, are you like
I've never been to a concert in my life.
I'm sorry. What?
I know, it's kind of wild. I don't know.
Why do you think isn't Burning Man music related? Isn't that like the point of it?
Yeah, but it's also just a bunch of people out in the middle of nowhere having fun and being carefree, and
you don't do
I like
drugs.
music.
Or you do
I don't
drugs?
like weed. I like mushrooms. I would love, and like I've
Okay.
tried once or twice and would do more
Okay.
of that. So I don't drink or do weed, but like I could other drugs I'll do.
Okay.
Yeah.
That makes more sense then.
Yeah.
I can't do psychedelic drugs. It's Carly's brain chemistry does not mix well with like
Yeah.
shrooms and that kind of thing. So just like soberly hanging out in the middle of a desert with a bunch of like very psychedelic out people.
Yeah.
I like my creature comforts.
That's fair. I
But
do
Marfa
too,
has
usually.
them. Marfa has
Yes,
them.
it does. Marfa has
Okay.
them.
So tell me about the schedule. Like, how did it work? Was this like a normal conference in that there was like programming all day long? Or is it more casual and just like, hey, come meet up here at our house and then go there and then hang out here?
Yeah.
Like, I know people were hanging out at the Proof or like Art Blocks houses at night. And like how does it work?
There was a lot of programming. So I think the last 2 years, it was like pretty light on programming. And, as they're building it out and learning and trying new things. And with this many people coming, there was a full on schedule, sunrise to midnight. And
Was it like
later.
sunrise yoga or was it like sunrise minting?
No, it was like a breakfast, and
Okay.
there's Glitch Gallery in town that is an amazing place, by the way. Shout out to Derek Edwards and Maggie and the people running that. Where there'd be like this coffee and pastries and like an art showing, or like 100 Proof filmed their show there one day. Usually something started every day at 9 a.m. and sometimes people did a few things a little earlier. But really, just throughout the entire day, there was things to do at all times if you wanted, but also a lot of like non-scheduled ad hoc kind of stuff happening as well. So it was, again, it's just, of the 700 people, I think I would say at least 100 were artists. It was very artist heavy. Money was never spoken about. I'd never heard it once. Floor price, money, ETH. It was just pure. It was just pure. Again, because of the trek to get out there and the whole self-selection of wanting to be there, it's just not inherently going to attract people that are flippers, or there are people there that obviously like to make money and have made money and trade and do all that kind of stuff, but it just wasn't even close to the focus.
Speaking of floor price, now you come back to Overpriced JPEGs, where we absolutely talk about floor price. And
It's right there in the name.
It's right there in the name. One of the things that has been pumping are these Beef Brothkos, we would tease at the top, by Die with the Most Likes. That's the artist.
That's correct. Yeah.
Okay. I'm for some reason I'm like followers. I'm always like Die with the most what? What's the thing we're dying with the most?
Likes.
Okay. Tell us about this. It's so funny. JC, who's on the Overpriced JPEGs team, was at Marfa, and she like texted me the link to mint this. And I pulled it up. It was kind of late, I think. And I pulled it up on my phone. I couldn't do it on mobile. I was like, whatever. Just made a weak attempt at doing something and then just like totally ignored it. Which was the wrong move, because I think they're up like 20x or something.
Something like that.
Since the time. So walk us through this. Tell me exactly what happened and what it was like when you were there.
Yeah. So Die with the Most Likes is an artist that is known for very, I don't even know how would you describe his. It's like a lot of meat, a lot of like very in your face. Yeah, okay. Like I know.
Well,
it's
Beef
very
Brothko, I suppose.
Beef Brothko, very crude art. You'll understand more as I explain. But he was on 100 Proof one of the days, and then he had a showing of his own at Glitch Gallery at 9 p.m. on, I think it was the last night, Saturday night. And what it was he'd set up with the help of a few others a pawn shop PAWN.
Pawn, yes.
Yeah, but definitely a bit of both going on.
Okay.
Where you go in and you could go up to like this table. There were all these assorted random things laid out, and you could barter. You could offer something, and he would give you something back. And in terms of what you could get, some of it was one-of-one pieces of art by him. Some of it was total junk, just like 4 Locos or a car air freshener, or one of my friends got a button, like just literally a button. It doesn't do anything. It's just this random little button. So just full on junk, and people were going crazy, like standing room only, very, very loud, like hands up, trying to count. Oh, what do I have? Emptying their pockets. What can I trade? It was wild. I was in there, and it was like, I had no idea it was like what to expect from it. And I was like, what is happening? And, yeah. So that was happening.
Okay.
And there was a gallery as well with like piece of his work. And I think on one side of the room there was a glory hole where if you stick your finger in it,
I've read,
you get like a little card or something that had a link to the minting website. And I think some people even got physicals. And so that's where this whole mint came from, the Beef Brothkos.
gosh.
And I was there. I did not mint. I did not even, I didn't do it. Like, I was like, this is too crazy. I was at the front of the bartering line. I got a car air freshener, and then I left, and then I was hanging out outside with a bunch of others. But yeah, it was just an insane experience.
That's
and
fun.
this mint, 0.0369, I think it minted out for. But I saw it in the morning at like 10, 11 a.m. the next day, and it was already 0.4 because Pindar Van Armen had tweeted about it and said, this is incredible. It's like a blend of AI art and generative and, just the regular art of die with the most likes. And it's continued to kind of go crazy, and it's at 0.7 ETH now or something.
Well, what's funny too is when I opened the link for it, it said it was like you had like 37 days to mint. I wasn't thinking, it's gonna mint out. I need to hurry because people might buy them all. I was just like, I opened it on my phone. I was like, it's a phone mint. That's always sucks. Like, I just want to do this on my computer. Like, whatever. Hit something. I'll just do this later. Being like, I have 37 days, and then of course, like, jokes on me.
Well, I mean, I think someone just
jokes on
tweeted
both of us.
it out.
You didn't get it either. Yeah,
I did not get it either.
Out.
I bought someone secondary at like 0.4 or something. But
nice, good move.
Doing okay, but it's like it's just crazy, and I'm sure there's 500 other people who went to Marfa and was like, I was right there. How did I
could have had it. Yeah. Infinite regret. Infinite freaking regret.
But some people got some cool one-on-ones.
Really?
Some really cool one-on-one, like physical one-on-ones. Yeah.
From the glory hole?
From that entire exhibit. I don't know if it was from the glory hole or from something else, which is, it's just what a funny exhibit.
Yeah. No, it's fun. I mean, I honestly, like, everybody who I've spoken to who went just is like almost on a come down from how fun it was. And
still on a high. The entire set, like 2 to 3 days. By the way, it felt like a week or a month, the amount of stuff that happened.
By the way, this is like, you'll point back to this, like, when it gets bigger. Like, this is the kind of thing that then becomes corrupted, where, to your point, like, if it does turn into like a next bull run and there's 5,000 people, 10,000 people trying to come to Marfa, it completely ruined, like, everything about what made it special goes away. And all the people who are here this year are like, oh my God, remember Marfa when it was 700 people in 2023? And that, like, those were the good old days, and now it like sucks.
I feel like we're already at that cusp turning point, which makes me feel so much FOMO and regret at missing the first year and last year, because I think it's already getting
bigger,
quite large, and like the town is just not like the galleries and the spaces, you can't fit that many people. But
it's not set up for it.
It was it was just incredible. Like, again, I've been to a bunch of conferences, and this is without a doubt an order of magnitude above anything else, if not more. And so I recommend it to everyone who can make it out next year.
Well, from strength to strength this week on Overpriced JPEGs, great time in Marfa, and now the big news out of Pudgy Penguins, which is, I mean, I think everyone probably knows this by now, but Lord knows if you don't, we're going to tell you. They are now in 2,000 Walmarts nationwide here in the U.S., and Luca has shed more light, and the Pudgy's team has shed more light onto A Brave New World, which they've been like pseudo teasing in tweets for a couple weeks now, but like it was not really clear, like, are they teasing something specific, or are we just like, what's going on? And we now know it's this little virtual world that exists in part right now, but will really open up once 70 to 80% of the toys in Walmart sell through. And once those toys really sell through to a large degree, that's when they'll open up this broader look at A Brave New World, and you'll be able to take your digital Pudgy, which you either have or which you get from scanning the QR code from the physical toys, and you can then take that Pudgy and enter this new little space that I don't entirely know. None of us obviously entirely know what to expect. When I kind of pushed Luca on it, because I did an interview with Luca that came out on Wednesday. If you haven't checked that out, check it out. It's not like this is going to be like an extensive game world, but it seems like it's going to have fun little surprise and delight moments, and probably some like light, very basic casual gaming elements perhaps. And But Luca seemed very stoked on it, and I pushed. I said, like, do you really think, like, this is a lot of pressure? Like, do you think you can handle this? And he was like, yeah, like, I think people will be happy with what this is, understanding that we've been working on it for 5 months, not 3 years. Like, we're not releasing Call of Duty here. You know what I mean? Like, it's just a fun world. So, okay, I obviously interviewed Luca. I have plenty of thoughts. I want to start with your thoughts, though. Have you listened to my conversation with Luca yet?
I have not yet. I've been traveling on the road.
Not a hardcore enough
on
fan.
Saturday. Not yet. No, but I definitely want to, because I'm a huge fan of Luca, and I think that Pudgy Penguins are knocking it out of the park. They've been running a masterclass on NFTs as IP for a year plus now since he took over, and it's just like the thing that really is not that floor price is a great metric, but like every single project hypes an announcement up, drops it, and then floor price tanks. For them to, and he was hyping this up, and for them to knock it and to have a floor price go up and have the market be like, oh, you know what, this is a big deal, this is huge.
Yeah.
Incredible. Absolutely incredible.
Though it's interesting because he hyped it up after the announcement came out. Like, he wasn't hyping this up before
he
the
did a little bit. I remember him saying,
but
like,
so lightly.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know, my perspective, and then tell me yours. Like, my perspective, I knew a bit in advance because he and I recorded a bit in advance. So I knew, I guess like a week before the announcement came out. But my sense was like he was saying like a brave new world is coming, but it felt like it did not feel like what you got with like a D-Gods hype or like any other like even a Zuki Elementals. Like it felt like a very subtle like, oh, something's happening and like something's coming. But it did like it certainly, I don't know. I don't feel like he hyped it like a crazy like. It
wasn't
hype.
Just ongoing hype for sure. I do remember though that I think it was like a couple of months ago he tweeted or said in some interview or something about how there's an announcement coming, unlike like anything the space has seen is going to blow everyone's minds, and that was like that level of depths of the bear after elementals and stuff.
Oh, I actually didn't realize that when he said that a few months ago.
I think so, 2 or 3 months back.
One of the things I said, because I kind of said, hey, like it felt like you didn't hype this, at least in like the immediate lead up to it. I obviously should have done better research and realized that he had said that 3 months ago, but
I could be wrong.
He said, no, I think you're right. Well, I think you're probably right, but he said that they were planning on announcing a bunch of stuff, maybe this included, in June. But then he realized a bunch of other teams. I think, you had Elementals, like D-Gods, like he could tell there were a bunch of other teams that were launching things in June as well. So they were like, all right, we're going to hold off because we don't want to just like,
smart,
be all these announcements all at once. And then when he saw how much the hype train was not working, he like was like, okay, we're going to lay off it. We're going to kind of pump the brakes on the super pump. So there's just another example of I think them playing it well, which isn't to diss any other projects. I mean, part of that is luck to some degree, but to your point, I just think at every turn they have now solidified their place as really like the one kind of untarnished project right now, which makes me nervous because no hero can stay a hero forever. It's what is it? You
CryptoPunks.
Or you live long enough to become the villain. What is it? It's like you
either die a hero or you live long enough
to become a villain or something. Yeah, exactly. So what I want to clarify for folks, and I tweeted this and it got some traction. So, but is like, this is not just a case where Pudgy Penguins are going to be on the shelves of Walmart stores. Pudgy's is part of their pallet program, which is a very specific thing within the Walmart universe. And I'm assuming all but big box retailers, but Pudgy's is getting their own bespoke like display unit, shelving unit in the middle of Walmart stores. So they're getting the best like prime real estate in Walmart. And it's really calling the attention to it. And what Lucas said to me in the interview was, I probably wouldn't have done this deal if it was just getting Pudgy Penguins on the shelves of Walmart. Because that's putting the work on me and on Pudgy's to try and sell through those things. And that can really hurt a brand. Like this is where when you talk about David Horvath, even Luca in a conversation with me, the first interview I did with him, he had said, going too big, too fast can kill a brand. Like, you shouldn't just go into Walmart just because you can. And so he's like, I wouldn't have done this deal if it was just us on the shelves. What's so powerful about being in this pallet program is it's Walmart doing 50+% of the marketing for us. Just by virtue of having that real estate and having that much attention called to you, they'll sell, they have to have some basis to it, but they're like cute penguins. He's like, they'll
and they're
sell.
Like $8. It's like.
Totally, they're cheap. I think the cheapest item is like $5. Amazing. I think the igloos are $5 and then the Pudgies are $9. And he said that too. He said, look, like I probably could have, I'm losing out on some margin because of that, obviously, but like you have to give Walmart the best price you can. That's part of like the agreement with Walmart. And also my bigger goal here is really like the brand awareness play. Like basically he's building towards this vision where he wants to be able to have more leverage and power in negotiating with studios for content. And he was like, the problem historically has been that when I meet with these big studios, they're interested in making content with Pudgies, but I have no leverage. And so they give me really bad deals. They give me points on the dollar or whatever. He's like, so I needed to get myself to a position. We needed to get the brand to a position where we had a lot more leverage in those conversations. He's like, I had already proven 2 of the 3 main verticals, which is I'd proven social. We're getting these crazy amounts of impressions on social. We had proven digital sales because we have all these NFT sales, but I needed to prove retail sales. And so this deal with Walmart is my hope of proving retail sales so that I can now go back to, and I'm sort of putting words in his mouth, but essentially studios, and say, okay, we sold 1 million units, across Amazon and Walmart. We've sold this much in digital, and we've got these on social. And now he can really go and start to build out the long tail of this, which is the story and the lore. Yeah. And what I love so much about it is like, I get that. Like I understand that vision. Doesn't mean he's going to be able to pull it off, but so far he has. And like it feels like there's this really articulable
that
vision.
Seems like it should be a word.
Yeah, right? That he's putting forward that I think is so impressive.
Yeah. And at 24, that's what blows my mind. He's 24 years old. Like, what the hell?
I know. His story is amazing. Yeah. If folks don't know his story, go listen to like one of the past interviews he's done. I didn't really get into it in my first interview with him because I was like, there's just so much else I want to talk to him about. But like, there's interviews out there you can find to kind of hear Luca's backstory.
Yeah.
Let me introduce you to a brand new company that I could not be more excited about. Web3 Sense. A Web3 analytics platform that combines on-chain data with social media insights to give you the deepest, most meaningful intelligence into any NFT community. I have tested other analytics platforms out there, but Web3 Sense has the most comprehensive capabilities I've seen in the NFT ecosystem. They apply sophisticated data science to wallet histories to determine behavioral patterns and help shape predictive analytics. In other words, they can tell you which Twitter accounts are actually the influencers in your space. And they can tell you what resonates most within a community by looking at what other communities token holders are involved in. The number of use cases here is virtually unlimited. So whether you're a trader, creator, institution, brand, agency, I promise Web3 Sense has data that you want to see with the deep and actionable insights that you need to build, analyze, grow, start, whatever you want to do within the NFT space and in terms of building a business and a community. Now, they are still in very early days, so they're eager to connect with the community. So if you're interested in learning more about what Web3 Sense can do for you and your business, and you should be, go and fill out the very short form linked to in the show notes, and someone from their team will reach out with more information and an opportunity for a product demo. Trust me, you won't regret it. I don't look at this as like other projects should also be now in Walmart. Like, again, this was I don't think like, oh, what are Doodles and Bored Apes and, Cool Cats? Like, what are these other things doing that they haven't gotten a Walmart deal? Because as a matter of fact, some of those probably could get Walmart deals if they wanted to, again, to like be on the shelves or something. And that's not the right move. Like, I think this is a each project needs to handle things very distinct. Like, there's no one size fits all. And so I don't think we should look at this and say, like, what are these other projects up to that they're not in Walmart? First of all, they're not necessarily trying to sell toys. Like, Luca is very first and foremost, and has been clear about this, like a merchandising toy company as the starting point and then ramping up from there. And these other projects aren't necessarily that, or other companies aren't necessarily that. And again, like, I think Doodles, for example, is like a little bit more of like a high-end metropolitan brand is sort of my read on it, which doesn't necessarily fit in a Walmart ever, So I don't think we should look at this and sort of like point fingers at the other projects.
I agree. Yeah, I think the only one that maybe could fit would be Cool Cats, I think, because similar, cool, cute, kind of type of vibe. But yeah, it's amazing for Pudgy Penguins. It's not right for most others. That's really interesting, though, what you said about how they didn't just want to be on the shelves. They wanted this palette program part. Do you know if, and this is probably in the interview, but is this like a permanent thing, or is this something that will run for a few months and then be done?
6 weeks. It runs for 6 weeks.
Okay.
It's 800,000 toys, 6 weeks. I assume, and then after the 6 weeks, anything that's unsold, because he's like, look, success for us is selling through 75 to 80% of these. You're never going to get 100% penetration. I think he was like, there may be some like store in Arkansas that's a less penguin friendly demographic. And I'm like, whatever that means, right? So it's running for 6 weeks. And then after that, unsold toys will kind of go either like discount in like some other part of the store. Like, he was saying like the Pudgies may fit in with some other like IP brands, and it'll just go on the shelves. And then some of the Igloo, some of the cheaper, smaller stuff will actually go at like near the checkouts.
Oh, nice.
As you're kind of checking out. So, but it's leading up to holiday season, which is great because penguins are kind of a nice like wintry brand, I feel like. And you're in Australia. You don't know what season.
I was like, our Christmas is 40 degrees Celsius hot summer, but Yeah. It's went to FEWOCiOUS. Yeah.
He also said, and I appreciated, somebody tweeted out this clip today that, and it should be coming soon, that they also have a partnership with a big retailer in Europe. He didn't name it. He was like, this is a little bit of alpha. And he's like, but we also have a big retailer in Europe. And they've already been doing something in Australia, which they've essentially sold out of. They'd already had some sort of, they'd already done some sort of like retail something in Australia specifically that had gone well. The other thing that really jumped out at me about my conversation with him is I was asking about the Amazon sales they did. So they sold 500,000 units, I believe. They sold through on Amazon before they ran out of product. And he said he thinks 75 to 80% of those sales came from the Web3 community. He said about 75% of traffic to that was from Twitter. So you can pretty much assume that's Web3. Yeah. And then, the remaining 20% was because they started trending on Amazon. And so other people probably discovered them.
Yeah.
Which was higher. I don't even know how to feel about that. Yeah. Like 500,000 items were sold. He was like, the purchasing power of the Web3 community is so crazy by any normal retail standards. Yeah. And I almost had mixed feelings about that, because on the one hand I was kind of like bummed, because like, damn, it's not really like, a bunch of mainstream normies are buying these things and getting these QR codes. Because again, each penguin comes with this QR code that you scan to get your digital penguin. On the other hand, it is corroboration of this thesis that Web3 has had for a while, which is that 5,000 true fans is really powerful. 1,000 true fans is really, really powerful. And I don't think I said this even in the interview, like, I don't think we have another example that really played out like this has played out, proving that concept, where you really had the Web3 community kind of rally in a way that showed like, hey, we may be small, but we're very mighty. So I kind of had mixed feelings. On the one hand, I was a little bummed. On the other hand, I'm like, oh, it's kind of cool too. So I hope that the numbers are a little bit more evenly matched in this Walmart thing.
So, I hope. You think it would be? It's like, that's prime real estate. So. You'll get a lot more just kids walking by going, oh, cute, I want that.
Yes, exactly. I was also approximately 2 years old when I found out that there are no Walmarts on the island of Manhattan.
Oh, interesting.
Isn't that interesting?
There you go.
I don't even know if there's ones in New York City. Like when I was looking, it's like I have to go to like Jersey would be where I'd go to go to a Walmart to get something, which is kind of wild. We have Targets here, but we don't have Walmarts.
Yeah.
Do you have any Walmarts near you? Are you planning on going?
Where am I? I'm on the East Coast.
You travel so much. You're like, what country am I in?
Honestly, I thought I was like, am I in Australia or Dubai? But no, there must be one near me. I'm in Rhode Island. It's like, surely there's Walmart's here.
You're in Rhode Island? I guess that makes sense because you're with your friend. I know which friend you're staying with. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, pretty close.
You're like so close.
Yeah.
It's like so close but so far. You're on my continent, which makes me want to hang out with you, but you're like still a little too far for it to really make sense. Another thing Lucas said, and I want to get your thoughts on this. He said he feels like this is one of the top 5 like biggest moments, I guess, like in NFT history. Yeah. He's like, you have some of like probably some of the Christie's Sotheby's sales, maybe of like punks or apes. I guess the Beeple $69 million sale you got to put up there in like NFT history. But like got me thinking, what do you think? Do you agree with that? What do you think are the top 5 biggest deal moments for NFTs?
I mean, I guess it depends what metric we're looking at it from, but my first instincts, I'm thinking that seems right. Like 2,000 Walmart stores, mainstream adoption, everyone is talking about it. Everyone, like the sentiment over the last couple of days has really been, this is a win for Web3, for NFTs. This is not just Pudgy Penguins. This is good for all of us, and I very much agree with that. So I would agree it's top 5, along with some of like the big museums sort of running acquiring NFTs into their collection, or Christie's or Sotheby's. These are the big ones for sure.
Yeah. I know, I was trying to think, like, it's funny because so many of the moments that I would have considered big, maybe in hindsight, almost like contained the seeds of their own destruction. Like when you think about some of like the big celebrity mainstream moments with apes, like at the time they were mocked to some degree, but they still felt meaningful. Also, like when Jimmy Fallon was talking about apes on his show, like that was a big deal,
wild,
and it felt big at the time. And now in hindsight, I'm like, was it big or was it almost actually like net negative for the space because it's what brought so many like eyeballs to us almost before we were ready for prime time. So it's funny how time recasts moments that had felt big. So I think this will be the same kind of thing. Like, it feels really big right now. I'm quite optimistic about it, but who knows? You know, in 2 years we'll look back. Who knows what this moment will mean, or when we look back more holistically, what it all will have amounted to.
The 8 moment, those we look back on and be like, those were top signals. I don't think we look back on this as a top signal. That's like my
definitely
my
not
inkling. Yeah,
definitely.
I mean,
not.
It's not a top. Hopefully, oh my god. Hopefully this is not a top.
Well, this can't be a top because we've already had way higher highs than this, right? So,
that's true.
So it's like, if it just goes down further from here, I mean, you know, it certainly will never be a top, but hopefully it's not like a local top. That would be dark. And the other thing that I love about this is, I've been saying on the show for a while, and I said this in the conversation with Luca, is you know, my current working thesis on how NFTs, how things go mainstream, are like digital twins of physical things that people want to buy anyway. And then once they start having enough of these digital twins, they're like, well, shit, I want to show this off. I want to do something with this. Yeah. And suddenly now you create that social context around where people want to show off their NFTs and other people want to look at them because they were getting them automatically from digital twins. And I was seeing that almost in my head. I hadn't maybe thought deeply enough about it, but in my head, it was like luxury items. It was your Louis Vuittons, it was your Gucci's, whatever. But this makes even more sense. Like, having it be $8 children's toys in Walmart is actually probably really where that answer lies. So I'm just really curious to see what data we get from this moving forward, in terms of, you know, people are acting like, oh my gosh, we're going to get all these new adopters to Web3. And it's like the Reddit thing. It's like, well, hold on. Yes. I think it would be a huge win if we get a bunch of people who actually want to play with like little digital toys and run around a brave new world with their digital penguins, and maybe even have no idea that it's the blockchain. Those people are not now coming to buy your insert NFTs here, right? Like, this is a totally separate thing. I think the best case scenario is actually that this play pattern is established as a win. I think the way Luca put it was, it's almost like a buy one, get one free, right? You buy this physical toy and you automatically get this digital. So it's a great value prop for the consumer. Like, the consumer is getting more value from this play pattern than any of the other ones they can get. And that's when you can start to win in an industry, when the value to the consumer is actually there. And so Luca's point was like, the value is here for the consumer, which I think is a great point if folks recognize it. And so the best case scenario to me is that you have Walmart now saying to these other toy manufacturers, to your Mattels, to your other big players, like, hey, this seems to be where the future's moving. Like, this is what we saw, this, you know, this was really successful. Our customers really liked it. In this case, you should consider this as well. And you start pushing other toys to this phygital, I know people hate the word, I fucking don't. I don't hate the word, I think it's fine, to that model. So we'll see. I mean, that would be obviously, to me, the absolute best case scenario from this, which does not mean, again, that a flood of people are coming to buy our bags, but it does mean that people start interacting with the blockchain in a way they may not realize. And that, sorry, I'm like totally ranting now, but that was my takeaway from why Walmart was willing to do this. In Luca's telling, was that they were somewhat persuaded on this as the future of the toy industry, and that this play pattern is sort of what they're making a bet on as much as anything else.
Sense. It makes sense because kids these days, I feel so old, but like the younger generations, I want to say it, kids these days are all on iPads or on their computers behind devices. They're already in digital worlds. And I think in 2021, we thought, oh, they're just going to natively digitally buy things in-game, and that will be how NFT mass adoption happens. But I think physical to digital makes tremendous amount of sense. And we'll probably see multiple ways of adoption. But, you know, like buying something and then having the ability to take it into a virtual world, or like even more, it would be like, oh, could I now take it into Minecraft or in a game that they're already existing playing? Like, that is the end game, the final goal, I think, of interoperability and all that. But I think we're a long way away from that. But yeah, $8, buy a physical toy, get a digital thing, free scan and QR code, easy, done. Genius. Awesome. Simple and genius. Yeah.
Totally. The final thing that jumped out at me, and I tweeted a clip of this that I know a lot of people engaged with because it was a question that I was getting a lot in advance of the interview with him, was he really broke down the economics here and like what the future vision is. So there had been this sort of talking point floating around that said, people had said Luca was saying that Pudgy's was on track to make $10 million in revenue this year. So I asked him about that. I asked if that was pre the Walmart partnership or post, and he clarified two things. He said, first of all, it was post Walmart, like he was factoring in Walmart. Second, it was 10 million in retail sales, which actually isn't revenue to the company because there's lots of kind of middling things happening there. So it sounds like they're actually on track for about $6.5 million in revenue to the company. And then of course there's additional margin stuff on top of that of like cost of goods and other partners, et cetera. So he pegged it at probably like 2 million in profit or so, give or take.
Really good.
Which is still really good when you consider none of that is royalty revenue, right? Like he is an NFT company that has 2 million in revenue without having to worry anything about the royalty stuff that's fucking with so many.
Yeah.
And he was like, and that covers my burn. And he's like, and so the goal is, I can double that, I can triple that, I can 10x that over time. And then I asked, what is the path to super profitability? Because he was clear. He was like, look, I'm not under any illusions. Like the toy business is not like a great margin business. Certainly it's nothing compared to NFT sales. The NFT business has amazing margin. And he was like, for us, the long-term vision is licensing, like getting Pudgy Penguins a known enough IP that if you just put it on your lunchbox, your lunchbox is going to sell better. And that's all margin, right? Once you get to that point, he phrased it as being a debt collector, then you get 10% of sales or whatever of these products. You don't have to touch manufacturing. You don't have to touch anything. You just sell the look of the character.
Yeah.
And that's where the community element comes in, is then he licenses it from one of the holders. That holder gets a percentage point on the overall deal. I had somebody in the comments, by the way, say, why didn't a question about securities come up when Luca mentioned that profit sharing model? And just in case anybody's confused about that, my interpretation is that this is not profit sharing. This is Luca would be paying a holder to license the IP of their Pudgy.
Yeah.
And giving them a percent of the deal that he's struck, but it's payment for the licensing. So that's why it's not a security. You're not paying this person back just for the sake of being a holder. You're actually paying them for something specific, which is the IP rights that they hold. Now, and he says this, like, you can't get to 8,888 penguins that way in all likelihood. I mean, you have to become a really, really big brand to have 8,888 different penguins on products, globally, which he'll acknowledge. So there's a shortfall there, but it's really interesting. I mean, it's certainly the most compelling return value to holders model that we've been given in terms of feeling both realistic to some degree, though it's a big vision, but it seems possible and it's clear and they're on a path towards it.
And like there is I know it's very spurious and speculative, but the IP value of, if this is a massive global brand, then the original 8,000, they do become valuable collectibles. Like that's just how collectibles and value accrual works. It might take decades or many, many years, but if they're still around 50 years from now and have like TV shows and movies and games and virtual worlds, and there's only 8,888 of the OGs, there's probably millions of others, people will value that.
Yeah, totally. Especially because this is like the original form they started in, which is, I think key. Okay. We have two final quick things I want to touch on. Any final thoughts on Pudgies? I mean, I think, really beat this horse, and people can go listen to the full interview with Luca to hear everything I just summarized for you happen in real time. But
I think we covered it. Just infinitely bullish, and I just want to double down and highlight, it really is a win for everyone. Like this is a win for our entire space, crypto at large, even, I would say.
Yes. Luca kept emphasizing that as well, of like, ZK Sync is powering their backend. Like you're gonna have literally ZK Sync and the blockchain in 2,000 Walmarts around the United States. That's in amazing. Highly displayed pallet program things. Yeah.
So, anyone that says, "Oh, but what is it for the holders?" or "Oh, it's only toys," or I have no time for those people anymore. It's like,
it's so silly. It's actually so ridiculous. It's a ridiculous talking point. Okay, let's talk about. There's this FEWOCiOUS Mint. It's so funny how everything has just, I feel like, become less like a big deal. Like I feel like there was a time when like a FEWO mint would be such a big thing, and now I feel like it's sort of, I don't know if you were following it at all. I know about it because I got an email from Nifty Gateway because I own some FEWO paint, and every paint holder got airdropped something. I haven't even checked. I should check right now. I haven't even checked what I got airdropped, because it was like, Nifty Gateway was like, make sure you have your wallet address like plugged in with us basically to ensure that you get this airdrop. I'm gonna look it up right now. But so this is all part of FEWO World, which FEWOCiOUS started teasing, I want to say at the very beginning of last year. And there's like these actual FEWOs, like, characters or something. And then there's the FEWO paint drops. Mm-hmm. And then there's like a couple layers to this. It's quite complicated. Then there's like a pass that unlocks like kind of the wearable component of the FEWO stuff. But I think there was like some controversy around this because initially it was reported that the mint price for the public was going to be 0.4 ETH. And they were like, oh, that's high. But then they came back and said, no, it's going to be dropped if the demand isn't there. So now the latest is, I actually have this pulled up somewhere. The latest is that I think it's going for a lot. They're making the mint price quite lower. So it's something like, for any of the art holders, the mint price is 0.08, and then the public mint is going to be 0.25. So they've dropped it about 0.15 ETH from that 0.5. That
still
0.5
high though,
piece.
but
still
I guess
high.
I don't know exactly what it is. I've been like tenaciously, that's the wrong word, but like slightly following it, and it's just not a big thing on my radar. I think. Do
you
exactly
own any
right
FEWOs?
I don't think so. I remember the initial paint drop, and like there was a lot of hype and anticipation around that. I can't remember if I don't think I minted, but I might have bought on secondary. But I just haven't been part of their ecosystem.
Yeah. So I do have my FEWO, my FEWOCiOUS times FEWO World drop did come through. My best offer on it is 0.1 ETH at the moment. I don't know what the floor on it is. That's 9% below the floor. So, whatever.
Not bad.
It's not bad. And I guess shows how little, I guess this is like pre-reveal. It has like a big question mark. It's an animation and there's a big question mark over it. So I'm going to go ahead and assume this is like a pre-reveal thing, and I'll get revealed a character at some point. I love FEWO's art. I really do. And so, I don't know. I'm excited about this. I think it's cool. We'll see what happens. I'm definitely kind of a long-term holder on the FEWO. Like I'm on the long-term holding camp of the FEWO stuff because I'm like, I think they're talented artists. I mean, there was controversy. I just don't know enough about it, so I don't even get into the like assault allegations because I just don't know. When I looked into it a while back, it had felt a little bit unsubstantiated. It was like an anonymous Twitter account. And when I think about FEWO as a trans person, like you just think there's plenty of people who would want to come at them, and anonymously tweeting about things just feels like a really easy way to try and hurt somebody's reputation, whether it's true or not. So but I feel almost uncomfortable talking about any of it because I just haven't looked closely enough into sort of it more recently.
There are so many incredible artists in our space, and I love that lots of them are experimenting with different sort of ideas and models, like building out a world or an ecosystem with multiple layers. The one downside is it becomes, and this is true for all NFT projects, it's become so confusing and convoluted to try and stay on top of too many of them. So I really feel like as a collector, you just have to pick 3 to 5, including like PFP projects, membership clubs, and artists, and be like, these are the ones that I am deeply passionate about. I will follow, I'll understand their ecosystems. Everything else could be cool, could be great artists, but just we all have limited time and
that's exactly
capacity.
Right. That's exactly right. You have to figure out how you're going to prioritize, pick a couple, be like, these are my ride or dies, and then focus in there and not worry about the rest. Okay, last thing, we're going to end on a bit of a, I don't even know if I would call it a low note. Gary Gensler sat in front of the Senate Finance Committee, I suppose, for a hearing. This is the second one, I think, that's gone on. And it was like 2 hours long. It was awful. First of all, they didn't talk that much about crypto, which was kind of, I was like, why am I here a little bit? I heard David Hoffman say that they spoke a lot more about crypto in the first hearing that he was there for. It was pretty limited. You had basically just a couple of senators, and actually you had McHenry. I'm going to show how far I've come from being out of politics. Like I don't even know who like most of these people are, but who was kind of leading the hearing. Was actually brought crypto up in the very beginning, and then it really deviated away from that. What really my takeaway was just like how disappointing. It feels so theatrical and stupid. And, each senator gets like 5 minutes to question Gary, which is not very much time. And I understand that on the one hand, because if you didn't have a time limit, these things would just go on literally endlessly and it would be horrible. But by only giving them 5 minutes, Gary doesn't really get to answer anything because like, look, I'm no Gary fan, but I actually did want to hear his answers to stuff. And what you have is these senators ask a question. They want like a yes or no answer. It's usually some sort of grandstanding kind of question. Then Gary tries to give like doesn't say yes or no. He like starts to elaborate on some nuanced answer. And then they say like, I take my time back, and then ask another follow-up question. Like they just interrupt the whole time. And you're like, what the fuck is the point of this? Like, what am I gaining? What am I learning? Nothing. Like, I really am so desperate for a long form, which he would never do, but like Gary on a long form debate podcast about crypto and this ecosystem, like that, where nobody interrupts him. It's not like, it's not intended to be a grandstandy thing. I mean, you had it on both sides. You have the Republicans who are coming after him for some really legitimate stuff, but again, you're not really able to hear his answer. They just like interrupt and then ask their next question, but they're making points that I certainly agree with. And then you have the Democrats who are just like, just bolstering him up, just like feeding him the softest balls, just being like, well, we know that Terra Luna, $9 billion or whatever, $9 million customer money was lost in Terra Luna, billion, I guess. And, this, $8 billion lost in FTX. Like, talk to us about all the work you've been doing to make sure you crack down so that the consumer is never hurt, the retailer is never hurt again. And it's like, well, that's a way to phrase a question, Maxine. That's a way to do it. God. And it's just, I was like, what a waste of my time, to be honest. Like, this was such a 2-hour waste of my time. The highlight, honestly, was Richie Torres, who I love, who he endorsed Yang in the mayor's race. And he's just a fantastic member of our governing body here in the United States. And he asked about Pokemon cards. And he was like, if I buy a Pokemon card, is that a security? And of course, Gary's like, well, you mean if you just like buy it in the store? Like, no, it's not if you just buy it in a store. And Richie's like, yeah, it's not, no. And then he's like, if I tokenize that Pokemon card and I bought it off of like a digital exchange, would that make it a security? And then Gary, again, like didn't say no. He was like, well, blah, blah, blah. And then Richie's like, so is it the act of tokenizing that makes something a security? Now, funny enough, I actually think there's more nuance here than, like, the Howey test is a facts and circumstances test, which means like anything can be a security if sold sort of in the, whether you want to call it wrong or right way. So that's why Gary's sort of hedging, which I get. But it did feel like the most interesting, relevant question, certainly for me in the NFT world, was coming from Richie Torres, which I appreciated. So anyway, I guess the upshot here is don't waste your time watching it. You got the highlights just now. I basically gave you the highlights, which is that there were like 2. And a lot of it wasn't about crypto. A lot of it was like it's the finance committee broadly. So they were asking about like a whole bunch of other financial rules and bullshit and whatever. It all just is exciting. So disappointing. It's all disappointing. All right, folks. That is the show today. We'll be back next week. Zeneca, thank you as always for joining.
Thank you.
Give the Saint Bernard. Saint Bernard, we said, is the dog that's with you right now.
His name is
Give him
Toby.
a hug for me.
Yeah.
And don't forget to go to opjtour.com to reserve your seats to hang out with Raoul Pal and I in person here in New York. And don't forget to redeem for your bottle of gin. Holidays are coming up, folks. Redeem now so you can give the best gift there is to give, which is a bottle of gin to your loved ones this holiday season.
Love it.
We'll catch you next time. Thank you so much for watching this episode of Overpriced JPEGs. If you liked this conversation, if you liked this episode, please go ahead and hit subscribe. It helps me out, it helps the show out, and it means you will get alerts and updates when we post new content. Thanks again.